What's going on, guys? Jim the Game Guru. Okay, we did it. We did it. We hit 100 local co-op games on the Nintendo Switch that you can play with a friend or a loved one. Yes. Woohoo! Right here, this video, 29 games to finish out the list all the way up to 100. I'm going to continue to do these co-op videos, but the next videos down the line are going to be not as large. They're going to be like Volume 4 and Volume 5 and 6, etc. are going to be around 10 games each, probably, as games kind of trickle in or as I discover games. If you guys are new to this channel, please consider subscribing. This channel is all about Switch games, board games, and VR. Alright, so let's go ahead and get to that list. Alright, so before I get into the list, I want to cover one game update. And this is a game that I covered before in a previous video for these co-op videos, and that is Overcooked. Overcooked, and Overcooked 2 are some of the best co-op games that you can play with somebody. It's easy to drop in 4 people in those games and have a fantastic time. So Overcooked just released the all-you-can-eat version of that game, and what it is basically it's Overcooked, the first Overcooked and Overcooked 2 together, plus an additional amount of content. And apparently it looks like it's a bunch of content that's exclusive to that package, which is a little annoying because I did purchase the previous Overcooked games. So I'm hoping that I can get some of that DLC for those. But if you're looking into actually getting into Overcooked, then I would definitely look at the all-you-can-eat and consider buying that package over the individual games. I feel like you'll get more of a value. That one is about $40, but it gives you everything. The first 2 games plus a lot of extra DLC content and everything exclusive to that wrapped in one. Alright, so let's continue on to the list. We're going to continue from the previous video where we left off of 71, and now we're going into 72. So let's get to that 100. Okay, so 72, Cat Quest 2. Cat Quest 2 is a 2D open-world action RPG set in a fantasy realm of cats and dogs, under threat from continued war from the cats of Felangard and the advancing dogs of the Lupus Empire. This is a game that I actually played the first version. I have not played this one yet. I've actually purchased this, just haven't had a chance to play it yet. But I love the first one. The first one was just strictly cats, and there was only 1 player. But on this one, they've actually made it 2 players, and 1 person can play as the cat, 1 person can play as the dog. I absolutely love the graphics on it. It's very simple though. It's simple graphics, but they did a great job with it. It looks like a lot of the good stuff that on the first Cat Quest they kind of kept intact as far as the moving around and kind of the aesthetics of it. But I'm kind of curious to see what's involved with the story and how it plays with co-op. I'm sure it's a pretty decent game. All right, so 73, Guacamelee. Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition is a Metroidvania style action platformer set in a magical world inspired by traditional Mexican culture and folklore. Yep, this is a Metroidvania. You go through, crawl through the levels, and beat bad guys, and you can actually bring 4 people onto this adventure. It's kind of unique because most Metroidvanias don't allow you to have up to, well, actually a lot of Metroidvanias are single player, but this one actually gives you the ability to have 4 people, which is fantastic. And then on number 74, Guacamelee 2, Luchador Juan Agocate is out of retirement for a stunning new Metroidvania-style adventure. Explore a huge, handcrafted world inspired by Mexican culture and folklore, just like the first game, filled with sassy new villains and weirdos and old friends. If you really like Guacamelee, if you like the first one, then the second one is, hey, it's more Guacamelee action for you. More co-op action and up to 4 people again. So number 75 is Enter the Gungeon. So this is basically a bullet hell game. It is hard as hell. It is a roguelike game, and it's one that you have to try to find the gun that can kill the past. It's all pixel art, and it's one of the roguelikes that I don't play that often because I don't like its upgrading mechanics. It's like this game requires you to be perfect. It requires you to play the game a lot, and it requires you to get really, really, really good at it. And it's not like something like Hades where you can kind of increase your stats after every single run, and and you can kind of purchase enhancements to your skills and abilities. And a lot of games do that now. Like a lot of the newer roguelikes, I mean, like Dead Cells does it, Hades does it, and a lot of other roguelites are following that pattern where they're giving you ways to increase your character abilities. And Enter the Gungeon is just raw, just hard as hell, and you just have to get good. There's no, I mean, you get better weapons along the way. You'll unlock more weapons and stuff. And if you get like the perfect arsenal of weapons, you can actually have a really decent run. But this one does offer you co-op. It's last time when I played it, the second player was a dude in the purple robes. I don't know if they've ever updated the game so that second player could be any of the characters. Probably not. It's probably still the same. But the player 1 can choose any of the main characters, and then player 2 has to be that person with the purple robes. 76 is Bleed. This is basically a shmup game. Well, actually, sorry, it's Bleed 2. And I played the first Bleed game. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I thought the controls take a while to get used to. And I don't know in Bleed 2 if they've actually fixed it. But apparently in Bleed 2, they decided to throw in co-op, and it's gotten some recognition, so I'm hoping they actually fix it. The Bleed games are usually pretty cheap, and they're usually on sale a lot. I mean, a lot. So you can probably find Bleed 2 on a good discount. If you're in for a shmup and you want to run around with characters and super fast battles, then here you go. You can do that in co-op. Number 77 is one that I was actually surprised had co-op in it. For some reason, I didn't think about it. It's another first-party game from Nintendo, which is Yoshi's Crafty World. Jump into a new Yoshi's adventure in a world made of everyday objects like boxes and paper cups. As Yoshi, you leap high, gulp down enemies, and set out on a treasure hunt to find all the different collectibles. Very cute aesthetics. A lot of yarn in the game, cardboard, and it's a Nintendo game, so Nintendo games are usually polished really, really well. I have not played this one on the Switch yet because it's so expensive. I'm not going to spend $60 for a Yoshi game. I'm just not going to do it. If you're willing to pay the $60 and you won't play co-op, you and a friend can be Yoshis, then there you go. Number 78, we got Kirby Star Allies. You got the classic iconic Kirby character going through, and then you can actually find friends along the way. Anyone who jumps in the game with you, and this is up to 4 people, can control one of the side characters that you find. I think player 1 can only control Kirby, but this Kirby game actually has a little bit more of a 3D look to it than a lot of the classic Kirbys. A lot of classic Kirby games were very pixelated. But yeah, so there you go, Kirby Star Allies. Number 79 is Super Chariot. Maneuver the wheeled coffin of the dead king through 25 levels and 5 colorful environments, trying to ignore the innocent insults of the king's ghost. So yeah, you and a co-op friend have to go through this level, and you're basically carrying this coffin, trying to find a resting place. And I like the graphics. I'm surprised it actually has. I've seen the trailers for this, and it says like 60 plus hours of content, which is kind of crazy. I did not think that at all. I thought this game was going to be like a short little 7-hour game and you're done. But I actually had a viewer comment on a video once and said, hey, Super Chariot's really good, and they really enjoyed playing this game with their spouse. It has a little bit of, it kind of gives me a little bit of that Unraveled 2 feeling, because in Unraveled 2 you have 2 yarn characters and you're tied together with a string, but in this case your thing that ties you guys together is the coffin you're trying to carry through the level. But it looks really interesting. This is definitely one game that I'm going to pick up one day and give it a try co-op and play it. I'll probably play it on a video. Okay, number 80, Death Road to Canada. Death Road to Canada, it looks really, really simple. It looks like basically zombie apocalypse, and you go through there, you play with co-op with up to 4 people and collect guns and shoot and kill zombies. One reason why I haven't picked this game up yet is because I'm not a big fan of the way the characters move, and the way they swing, they move their arms and their legs, and the way the guns move in their arms, and the way the zombies move. I don't know, something about it just really turns me off. But that's just me personally. I'm sure it's probably a pretty decent game, and I like blasting zombies. I think blasting zombies and having this going around collecting a bunch of guns and shooting them is really cool. I've always been turned off by the movement of it, though. Number 81, Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection. Now this one has a 2-player option where the first player controls Arthur and the second player will control like these kind of small, helpful characters in a way. First player is always going to control Arthur, so it's one of those games where, yes, it's co-op, but it's kind of like an assisted co-op. But this game is hard as hell, man. Ghost and God. I'm wondering if it's easier with 2 players or not, because the game it's tough. It is like you'll pull your hair doing the same sections over and over and over again until you get through each of the level sections. 82, The Takeover. Alright, another brawler. Story is super cheesy. It's about, losing your daughter, and these 2 people are going after their daughter, and they involve another member of the gang. But even though the story is cheesy, I was actually kind of surprised in the visuals. The visuals are really good. The controls are really good, and it's a brawler. I mean, brawlers are fun. It doesn't matter what brawler it is. I usually have a good time with a brawler cooperatively, just running around, just beating the crap out of people. About different enemies and stuff, and just having a good time. I don't think the story is going to matter too much in this game, because you're not going to really pay attention to it anyway. It doesn't matter what brawler it is. I've never paid attention to a brawler's story ever. 83, Scott Pilgrim. If you liked the Scott Pilgrim movie, this game is perfect. It follows that movie to the T, where you actually fight the same bad guys, the X's. It's pixel art. But it has good controls, and it's awesome. I like the music in it. The movement is perfect. Even the home screen's kind of cute, and you can play cooperatively with somebody. It's a good time. That is a high recommend, especially on a sale. If you like brawlers, and that game goes on sale, Scott Pilgrim is something you should pick up. 84 was something that a viewer recommended to me, which is Wand Wars. Now, the main story mode in Wand Wars does not have a co-op feature, but there is a mode in there where you can actually do a continuous run, and you keep going until you can go as far as you can go before you guys are out, before you're eliminated, before you die, basically. And that has full co-op. The game is actually pretty cool. It's basically you're with wizards, and you have to knock this ball back and forth and try to eliminate other enemies inside the same room. Kind of like it's kind of like a sport. It's called Merlin Ball, and you're hitting this ball back and forth, and you just got. Well, there's different modes. You can either knock people out, and do damage to them, or there are modes sometimes too where you have like these goals, and you got to shoot the ball of light into the goal. And every time you hit the ball of light, it'll actually get faster and faster and faster and faster. It gets kind of crazy. 85, Blazing Beaks. A colorful world with armed birds blazing their way through piles of mutants, monsters, and creepy creatures. Yeah. It's a roguelike. You're birds, and you go through all these procedural generator levels, and you're just killing monsters and baddies until you get to the very end. That is basically the story of every roguelike out there. You just do the same thing over and over, procedurally generated levels, beat the bad guys, beat bosses, and beat the game. This one is just unique. It's just because you're birds. You're birds. 86 is another shmup. It is Destropolis. It's a very, very basic game. And you're basically in this little, kind of like the city. And there's no textures, really. It's just blocks, and the entire city is made up of these blocks. And as you go further and further and further into it, and you're shooting a bunch of other objects that are coming towards you. And you're picking up guns. And as you go through, what happens is, every time you advance, there's more and more and more that come at you. And then some of the enemies that come at you will get bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is all abstract. This game is all abstract. It's just shapes. So you'll have like triangular shapes and then you have these cylinders, and all the enemies are red. They're red in color. And you just kind of go around the city and try to stay alive as much as possible. Very simple game, but it's another option for a co-op because it does have a co-op feature. Number 87, Potion Party. This one kind of reminds me of 2 things put together. It reminds me of Overcooked plus the shop inside of Moonlighter. If you because there is a part in Moonlighter where you run the shop and you sell the stuff that you find in the dungeon. It reminds me of those 2 things put together, and it's all pixel art. It actually looks really fun, and it's pretty cheap. I think it's like $10 if I'm not mistaken. I kind of was just going through the eShop, and I found this, and I'm like, wow, that looks pretty decent. I like pixel art games. I have no problem with them, and it struck me because it reminded me of those 2 things and those two 2 games put together. And I'm like, that could be actually pretty interesting. Number 88, it's a newer title that came out not too long ago, and it's another one that I was kind of surprised had co-op. I have not played this one at all. It's called Balan Wonderworld. So Balan Wonderworld is a wondrous action platformer game themed around the Balan Theater, led by the enigmatic maestro named Balan. The stars of the show, Emma and Leo, will use special abilities from a multiple of character costumes as they adventure in the bizarre and imaginary land of Wonderworld. The graphics look really, really cool on it. And apparently when you play this co-op, one person's Emma, one person's and another person's Leo. If anyone has played this, please let me know in the comments if it's any good. It is $60. So it's up there on the register. You'll find a lot of times on these lists that I make for these video games, I don't play a lot of the games that are $60. There are very, very few of those that I actually own and play because I don't want to pay for it. I don't want to pay the $60. And that's why I have a pretty good idea of a lot of the unique games that are out there that are just not popular because I don't feel like paying the $60 for some of these games. But let me know in the comments if Balan Wonderworld is actually pretty decent. 89 is something I covered not too long ago. It is the Jackbox Party Packs. There's 7 volumes of Jackbox games. These are unique games because you can actually, when you play them with cell phones. And they're all these party packs are made up of mini games, and there's a bunch of them that are really, really, really fun. And they're all local co-op because you know what? You have the option of playing these remotely as well because it uses the internet with your cell phone in order to kind of tap into the game. But most of the time when people play these games, they're usually in the same room, local co-op, same couch, having a party. And because these are party mini games that you can play on the Switch, and it's kind of neat how you can play them with your cell phone. Number 90. Wizard of Legend. Wizard of Legend is a fast-paced dungeon crawler with an emphasis on dynamic magical combat. Quick movement and even quicker use of spells will allow you to chain spells together to unleash devastating combinations against your enemies, unlock over 100 unique spells, and discover powerful spell combinations. Yep. So that pretty much tells you everything about the game. It is a dungeon crawler. You're wizards. You're flying around, beating baddies, and it's all pixel art to it. I remember when it first came out, I had a lot of hype to it. I haven't heard too many people talk about it much lately, but it looks like a cool option to get a bunch of friends in, up to 4, and kind of go loot gathering. And well, I guess the loot here is the spells. You collect over 100 of them. Okay, number 91, Strikey Sisters. This is basically a pixel art brick breaker game that has co-op in it. So say hello to a fantasy-themed arcade action brick breaker featuring cute characters, silly humor, powerful magic, crazy boss battles, and even local 2-player co-op. So yeah, all pixel art. There are bosses in there, and it's like the old arcade brick breaker games, kind of like Arkanoid and what was the other one? I think it was Breakout. I can't remember what the other one was. I think it was called Breakout. It was that classic formula of those classic really old games. And some of those games are old, like back in the Atari days, and you slap in new pixel art bosses, and you have these characters that you kind of knock back these fireballs or whatever power up you have with the ball, and try to break the bricks and then defeat some of these bosses. It looks pretty interesting, and it is cheaper too. I think it's like $10 for that. Number 92, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. All right, so they released an update to Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. It wasn't originally, it was a single player only, and then they released an update that allows you to have co-op abilities where a second player is helping you. So the first player controls Toad, and the second player just basically helps you navigate and find treasure in the game. And that's all you do. You have like this map. Usually most of the maps are these maps where you kind of rotate, and then you just kind of try to find the treasures in this little kind of world. What do we got? So we got number 93. Number 93 is a fantastic tactical battle game. It is amazing. It is pixel art, but the pixel art is amazing, and it's beautiful and crisp. Really good tactical gameplay. I absolutely love it, and they give you a lot for the money. It's a cheaper game that they give you a lot for the money, and that is Wargroove. Wargroove was a single player only game. And then they released the Double Trouble add-on, which gives you a new campaign that you can play cooperatively with somebody through the strategic battles. Really, really cool. High recommend on Wargroove. If you like tactical strategic battles, highly recommend Wargroove. And then this Double Trouble add-on gives you the ability to bring somebody else in on the adventure. Number 94, Rico. Every time I hear that game, every time I hear Rico, I always want to say Suave right after that. But this is, what you're doing is you have 2 cops, 1 case, and only 24 hours to take them down. Can you score the bust of a lifetime? Take the role of a loose cannon police detective and face off against the criminal gangs, an exciting procedurally generated action movie first-person shooter. Join forces with a friend online or locally and take down those crooks in a true buddy cop style. So yeah, this one gives you split screen option for co-op gameplay. It is basically, when I look at this, I think of it is a procedurally generated breaching game, breach and assault game. That's basically what it is. Every time you go into a room, it's like you're breaching, and then you gotta shoot a bunch of dudes. And I'm assuming that a lot of the actions around that, where you're going to shoot and try to shoot before they kill you. I'm not sure if there's a lot in between that. I can't tell. I haven't played it yet myself, but this is a game that always goes on sale. Always goes on sale. Every time I turn around the eShop, it's like it goes from its $19 price tag down to like $8 every time. One day I do want to pick this up, but I just haven't had the real incentive to do so. Let me know in the comments if it's beyond just the breaching action and shooting. One thing that's kind of weird though with the split screen on it, it's split in the middle horizontally. I don't know if I like that really. I feel like it would be a better split if it was in the center vertically. And I wonder if they have an option that when you play split screen, if you can have it horizontal or if you can have it vertical, because it just feels better, especially nowadays where you have everyone has a widescreen television. I feel like the split in the middle, so that one person has the left side, one person has the right side, feels better than the split. Because when you split it down the middle horizontally, you have the top and the bottom, it just feels so small. It feels like you have like this thin layer that you're looking at that's super wide. So number 95, Swords of Ditto Mormor's Curse. The Swords of Ditto Mormor's Curse is a compact action RPG that creates a unique adventure for each new hero of legend in the relentless fight against the evil Mormor. Explore a delightful but dangerous overworld, brave menacing dungeons, and improve your hero in a charming village during your quest to overcome the evil that plagues the island. Yep. So this has got really colorful graphics. I like how it's a top-down, and it reminds me of Zelda. It reminds me of the older Zeldas, the classic Zelda, the first Zelda, or even like A Link to the Past. So, but with different aesthetics. It looks very bright, colorful. It has very unique looking characters and enemies. And yeah, it's very vibrant. It's got this vibrant thing about it, but it's very cartoony looking too. Looks very interesting. That one, I believe you can do that. That one up to 4 people, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so number 96, Super Bomberman R. Well, Bomberman is a classic. It's been around forever. Old days in the arcades, even like Super Nintendo, and it's just basically you're always controlling a Bomberman and can drop bombs, and the bombs will explode in 4 different directions, and then you can get power-ups. Now this one looks like you have a main story campaign that has 50 levels that you can actually work with a teammate to go through the entire 50 levels story mode, which is pretty cool. I do not like the price on it though. This game has been out forever on the Switch. I mean, forever. Almost since the Switch first came out. And it's still $40. Like some of these games that stay up on like the $40, $60 range when they've been out since the dawn of time when the Switch first came out. I don't understand that. I mean, I keep waiting for certain games like that to drop in price, but I don't feel like Super Bomberman R is worth $40. But pick it up if it ever drops on a steep sale on the eShop. I mean, it would have to be steep for me to pick it up. Probably like $10. All right, number 97, Caveblazers. Caveblazers is an action-focused platformer roguelike set in a fantasy world. Each game is unique and procedurally generated levels to explore and a massive amount of items, weapons, and equipment to discover. Yeah, this one looks really cool. This one I think I'm going to pick up very, very soon. I've had a viewer say that it's actually really awesome because they're playing it with their son, and I think this Caveblazers game is going to be something I'm definitely going to pick up in the near future. I like the pixel art in it. It is definitely just like other roguelikes where you go through and you beat a bunch of bad guys and you keep going as far as you can, beating bosses, etc. I really like the pixel art. The pixel art on this one kind of reminds me of Tiny Barbarians. And I'm not sure if it's made by the same developer that made Tiny Barbarians, but it looks very, very simple. It looks very frantic. It definitely looks like you can collect a lot of items, a lot of loot, and a lot of crazy stuff. I am very curious to see the leveling process of that, like how you upgrade your characters. Because I'm not a big fan of roguelikes that you can't upgrade your characters after a few runs. You lose everything and you start off square one with nothing and no additional abilities, no upgrading, no nothing. And it's just a matter of how good you are and how much loot you collect. So I'm hoping that one does have something where you can upgrade your character over time to get stronger and stronger and stronger. 98 Snipper Clips Plus. This is a game that's been out for a long time on the Switch. I don't think it gets a lot of attention. It's kind of just there, buried behind the scenes. But this is actually a really, really cool looking game. You can play co-op with a friend, and you basically cut out shapes to solve puzzles. That's it. Every puzzle you come to, you got to cut the shapes to meet an objective. And you gotta find clever ways of making these shapes. So definitely a game that I'm definitely gonna play with my daughter. I think one day when the price goes down. I think it's like 29 bucks. It's one of those games I'm waiting for it to drop. I want to wait for it to drop to about $10, and I'll probably pick that up. All right, we're almost there. We're almost to 100, guys. We're almost there. Number 99, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3: The Black Order. Okay, so assemble your ultimate team of Marvel superheroes from a huge casting, including the Avengers, the Guardians of the Galaxy, the X-Men, and more. Team up with your friends to prevent galactic devastation at the hands of mad cosmic tyrant Thanos and his ruthless war masters, the Black Order. Yeah, I mean, not much to say. It's like a 3D brawler. And some levels it's not 3D. Some levels it switches to kind of like a side scroller, but a lot of it's kind of 3D brawler with superheroes. I mean, there's nothing else to say really beyond that, and you can have your selection of a bunch of heroes that you can use. I will say the game is mega ultra expensive. It is the most expensive game out of all the games I've had in all my co-op videos or any other video. This is the most expensive game there is, because not only do you have to pay the full price of $60 for it, there's add-ons for the different things, like different characters, like the Fantastic Four and some of these other ones that if you want to add those to the game, you have to purchase those extra add-ons. It might have a season pass too. I can't remember if it has a season pass or not, which will obviously take it past the $60 range. So it looks like it's a very, very cool game. I've actually played the older Marvel Alliance games on the PlayStation 4, but I haven't played this one yet for the obvious reason, because of price. So the last game, here we are, 100. Man, I wish I had a bell to ring right now. 100. The 100th game on the list is one that's kind of unique. It is one that I just recently discovered, and it is PHOGS. So in PHOGS, you play as a duo of dogs on a captivating puzzle-filled adventure linked by stretchy belly. You'll need to bark, bite, and bounce your way through obstacles set across the themed worlds of food, sleep, and play in co-op or single player. So yeah, you're basically like a dog that has two heads, and you're joined with one body, and each player controls a side of the dog, and you have to kind of navigate through levels and solve puzzles, and the levels look very, very cute, very cartoony. I think the price point is okay for the game, for what it has. But yeah, it just looks really, really interesting, and it's definitely one that I'm going to pick up. Let me know in the comments if you have played PHOGS. I'm actually curious to see how good it is. That is the 100th game. Man, we did it. We went through and we found 100 games on the Nintendo Switch that you can play locally with a friend or a family member. And I'm going to continue to do these videos, but I'm not going to have them in high volumes anymore. So these first three videos are high volumes. Each one of them, this one has 29. The one before this had 33. The one before that one had 38. So I'm not going to do high volume. I'm starting to scrape the barrel right now with a lot of these co-op games. So I'm going to have to kind of gather them up as they come out or as I discover more. So the volume 4 and 5 and 6, as I continue for future videos, are going to be much smaller. They're going to be probably like 10 games. I have covered almost every single co-op game on the Switch so far. So finding these little stragglers here and there and waiting for new games to come out that have this co-op functionality. It's slim pickings now, and I just have to pick them off every time I see them. But yeah, that's awesome. 100. And if anybody tells you there's no co-op games or anything you can play with your friend on the Switch, man, no soup for you. Yeah, you can send them my way, and they can watch all 3 of these videos and be like, okay, there's a lot of games you can play with people. Yeah, Switch is awesome. You can play a lot of cooperative game, and it brings that old classic sitting on your couch playing co-op games with somebody. It brings that back. I think we've gotten so far down this dark road of everything being online. But anyway, guys, I will see you on the next video. If you like this video, please like. If you're new here and you like video games and board games, please consider subscribing. And I will see you until next time. Bye.